on ESPN Classic. Remember how perfect we can be.
Nicholas hit a tee shot that only gravity kept on this planet.
Discover.
It wasn't that Cal Ripken didn't get hurt. He was hurt all the time.
How human we really are.
There were times where I didn't think I was going to be able to walk again.
These are their stories. This is the award-winning Sports Century.
Coach Metz's Hicksville Aces win their 9th straight game and their 9th straight Northwest Buckeye League title here Friday night in a convincing 42-zip victory over Eden. Yet Hicksville fans probably have already forgotten the victory as they prepare for a showdown battle with the Paulding Panthers next Friday night at Hicksville. Sports writers throughout the season have said Hicksville is not as good as their 9-0 record indicates. However, Metz knows that his team can quiet the critics when it meets Class AA and Northwest Conference member Paulding Friday night. Metz says,
"We have the big one to look for next week. Our kids know this and realize that it'll be the toughest game of the year. They're a great bunch, and they do anything that we ask of them. We've been outweighed in every game we faced this year, but you don't need size, you just need to be lean and mean."
It's an understatement to say that the Aces offense is built around left half Stan Hostetler. He carries the ball nearly 50% of the Hicksville's running game. The 5'8", 155-pound speedy little scatback has been running roughshod through the NWBL for the past 2 years. He has sat atop the scoring leaders the entire season. He also has a shot at joining the 1,000-yard club this season. Hostetler has scored in each of Hicksville's 9 games. His most prolific point night was against Antwerp, where he reached the end zone 4 times for 24 points and added a 2-point conversion. He is averaging nearly 9 yards per carry this season.
And once he got out in front, it was all over with. Very deceptible back. And, I think we're probably one of our, probably the key in the backfield. One thing I remember about Stan, all these kids were smart.
All of his statistics are astounding, but Hostetler was nearly as convincing as a junior. As the old saying goes, those statistics would look good anywhere, even in a telephone book. It should also be noted that he is very, very quick.
I'm sure Paulding will be keying on Stan, and if they do, we have some other threats to go to someone else.
Hostetler will probably be taking many pitch-outs from quarterback Craig Cherry.
Craig will be the key for us in the fact that we run the triple option, and its success depends upon the judgment of the quarterback.
2 other veterans will also give the backfield a punch. They are Howard Moore, a 3-year letterman.
Howard was our old bulldog. He was the key to our offense. We run what they call a belly series.
Mike Hinch, a senior, at right halfback.
Mike was our right halfback, and when we went left, Mike carried the ball. One thing probably Mike got cheated on was that we was a right-oriented running offense. I want to say Mike was an excellent blocker, and Howard Moore can be thankful that Mike and Stan both kicked out the offensive ends in our bread and butter play.
The offensive line includes Keith McDonald at center, Albie Pearson and Bob Conley at the starting guard positions. The rest of the senior class includes Hal Osman at left end.
Hal Ozzie Osman, he was one of our spark plugs of the team. He was one of the guys that we could always go to if we had to. And this looks beautiful. If you turn around, Ozzie's coming back to the left, and Craig's out there standing ready to make a block.
Also, Chuck Klein at left tackle.
Chuck was our offensive tackle. Good kid, hard-nosed. All these kids were hard-nosed, and Chuck did an excellent job for us line. Also pass protection.
Bob Conley anchors the defensive line from middle guard.
In our defensive schemes, we put our toughest person at the middle guard. Bobby was there. I think he was probably one of the best athletes on defense.
While McDonald and Pearson have been the top linebackers this year.
And Pearson and McDonald were all league that year, but rightly so. They made a lot of tackles, drop back, pass defense, and excellent ball. Again, very smart people.
Hostetler and Hinch are also the starting safeties for the Stingy Aces defense. Statistically, the Aces are incredible. They have scored 401 points in 9 games for an average of 44.6 points per game, and they have given up only 14 points for a 1.5 points per game defensively. That figures out to be a winning margin of just over 43 points per game.
When you had a line like we did, it was easier to do than it would have been if you had a bad line.
The Aces haven't been scored upon in over a month and have had only a close call with a 13-8 win over Delta, which was sandwiched between 71-zip and 50-zip victories over Antwerp and Hilltop. The Paulding game is a final home game for the senior players as the team goes for a big win and an undefeated season. Paulding Progress reporter Louis Levy says, "The Aces are overrated and don't have a chance Friday night."
We'll show him in all the Pauldings. We're not overrated and we're number one. We're 9-0 and 10-0 makes them go.
Says Mets.
Hicksville's Dan Hostetler was supposed to steal the show Friday night, but it was a pair of underrated backs that held the spotlight in the Aces' 21-20 squeaker. Quarterback Craig Cherry's leg proves to be the deciding factor in the contest when he connected on 3 of 3 conversions. But his running, passing, and execution was the key to Hicksville's offense. While Cherry was having an outstanding evening, Paulding's Jim Caserta probably was the best back on the field. The compactly built sophomore became the third Defiance area back to crack into the 1,000-yard club when he picked up 162 yards in 22 carries. Cherry elected to hand off to trusty fullback Howard Moore for ball control, as well as electing to run on his own on several occasions as they consistently picked up valuable 4, 5, and 6-yard gains.
We run 3 plays off the triple option. When we set up, Craig fakes to the left, and he could come back to the right or hands off or keeps it himself.
Coach Metz added,
Tonight, he decided to keep it himself, and he kept getting us that valuable yardage that we needed.
After Paulding kicked off to open the contest, Hicksville's quarterback Cherry used only 5 plays, including 2 passes to direct his team to a score.
It was going to be the toughest game we never had, because we knew Paulding was tough.
Well, the first play of the game was a pass, as I recall, and I remember going out for that, and I was open, and you threw the ball, and it was a good pass, and I juggled it, and I was juggling it about 3 times while I was running, and I just kept thinking to myself that if somebody hit me while I was juggling it, I was going to drop it.
Looking across the line at the faces of that defense, and I knew we were in for a long battle.
Standing over on the sidelines while I'm standing there, but I got there on the route, and Craig had to scramble quite a bit, and lofted it, and I jumped up, and I think the ball caught me more than I caught it. Actually, I was a little surprised that I came down with it. I felt running up against them was fun. We knew it was going to be our toughest competition of the year. They gave us the battle we wanted. It got my juices flowing more, I guess, for that game than it did any game.
Halfback Dave Level recorded the first touchdown on a 3-yard run.
I just enjoyed hitting a lot. So
Cherry kicked the PAT.
The problem was that my hands were so cold I couldn't feel my fingers. I'm thinking, God, just let me catch it and get it on the tee.
Then on the ensuing kickoff, thinking that the ball would roll dead, Paulding failed to pick it up, and Hicksville's Curtis Panasuk fell on it at the Paulding 35-yard line. The sure-footed Cherry used only 3 plays on that drive.
Big, they hit very, very hard, and they were quick.
Going into the bowling game, that was the biggest thing. I mean, that was the talk of everywhere. Everybody was as excited about it as we were. The whole town was buzzing. I was pumped for it, that's for sure.
We were small, we weren't very big. Nobody gave us any credit, and yet we went out and kicked ass every week.
Hitting end Dave Gambrell on a 17-yard touchdown pass.
I remembered my touchdown catch because I remember when I caught it, one of the key things I wanted to do was get down because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't out of the end zone or something.
Cherry easily kicked the extra point.
His leg is what got us in there. He kicked 3 extra points, and as it turned out, the score is 21-20.
On this evening, the 2-time All-League senior completed 5 of 7 passes for 79 yards and the 1 touchdown.
We wanted to get out early, and we knew that they'd be uptight on the defensive line, so we decided to go to the air. Dave Gambrell and Kevin Craig made some great catches tonight.
One of the sports writers down in Paulding, writing in the Paulding paper, really played up the game big time.
Paulding finally got control of the ball and battled back into the game. They pushed to the Hicksville 13-yard line in 13 plays.
Their offense was about as unimaginative as anything I've ever seen. They had Clark and Caserta, and they'd run Clark to the right and Caserta to the left, and it was the same play off tackle 9 times out of 10.
The thing I remember getting most is getting hammered by Jim Caserta all game long. He was their fullback. He was like 230 pounds or something. They just ran him into the line all night. Seems like I just got my teeth rattled all night long.
Them guys were fast. They were very quick, very powerful. I've never been hit so hard. Their offensive line was the same way, actually. You know, the football field on both sides was just ringed 5 or 6 deep with people.
A fumble wiped out the drive, and for the most part, their hopes for a 7-3 season.
The most disappointing thing was that no one thought we could beat them, and no one but us. And we knew we could beat them.
Paulding's Mike Clark scored on a 4-yard touchdown to make the score 21-20 with 5:38 left in the game.
Yeah, I didn't think we were going to get it. A lot of nervousness that we wouldn't. We were 9-0. I didn't want to finish 9-1.
Virtually the entire season rested on the extra point selection. Paulding's coach called an option play to the right side, but Hicksville's Steve Conley charged from his right cornerback position to stop Eddie Eccles and ensure the victory.
I could just see the way his eyes was that he is the one that was going to get the ball, and I actually even pictured exactly where he was running. And guess what? That's where he went.
Steve Conley came up and made a first hit on him, and then just stopped him at like the 2-yard line.
I remember Albie Pearson running over me too.
While the Winners held a 14-0 lead after the initial period, Paulding fought back. It held the potent Hicksville offense in check through the second canto and then scored with 7:32 left.
I knew that I was the last guy that had a chance to get him, so I was bound and determined I was going to catch up with him. And I knew that he was the fastest player on our team, and I wasn't sure that I could catch him.
Remember, I saw him break through the line, and I was clear on the other side of the field. I figured my only chance was to head for the corner. And somehow I got there before he did, about the same time that Hostetler caught him from behind.
Super sophomore Jim Caserta scored that touchdown on a 2-yard run and then added the PAT, making the score 14-8.
Jim Caserta's runs. Actually, you know, it's just watching the Paulding running backs, Eddie Eccles, Clark, and Caserta. I thought equal or better than us coming into the game, and you're just waiting for something to break loose any time.
Level scored late in the first half for the Winners. Aces coach Bill Metz admitted that his team had to make some changes at halftime. He pointed to the steady work of Bob Conley as the key to the defensive unit. Conley was injured during the first half, but finished the game in grand style, as did his fellow seniors Al Pearson and Keith McDonald. These three proved vital in the third period when Paulding drove to the Hicksville 26-yard line. Then, on a 4th and 9 situation, they dumped Caserta after a pass completion, and Hicksville gained control.
The closeness of the situation, I mean, it looked like we had things pretty well in hand.
Although the Aces were forced to punt, after only 4 plays, Lady Luck again turned their way. Punter Mick Prokraski's kick bounced off a Paulding player, and Hicksville recovered at the Panther 12-yard line.
Bobby was there. I think he was probably one of the best athletes on defense.
Paulding then held the Aces, and on the first play of the 4th period, Cherry attempted a 22-yard field goal. At least he was supposed to. However, Hostetler decided to run when he received the ball. He was chased back to midfield before unloading a 30-yard pass that was intercepted by Eccles on the 20-yard line. He raced to midfield before being tackled.
Stan is a smart player, and he knew he'd either had to pass or be tackled.
Said Metz, grinning about the exciting play.
The pass kind of wobbled because Stan doesn't pass much.
Worked for years now to totally forget anything to do with failed goals as extra points.
Workhorse Howard Moore proved successful, gaining 47 yards on 13 carries for the Winners.
Driving down the field,
gave the ball to the old Moster, and he just kept grabbing first downs. And we were all tired, and they were tired, and it just kind of worked out well that we kept pushing it forward.
Well, I remember of the Paulding game being a very tough match, tough team, a lot bigger than we were. We felt we were quicker, and I think we wanted it more, and that's why we won.
Quarterback Cherry was clearly the offensive man of the night. His nifty ball handling and 79 yards in passing gave Hicksville its quick start and, for the most part, its undefeated season. After Friday night's victory, the only question about the Hicksville Aces is, what time is football practice in August?